I do this so that you don't have to.
It's all for you!
Today we are ranking the albums of 6 Feet Under, God help me, and we are starting with Haunted in 1995. Now, I hear a lot of people who hate this band as much as I do defend this album, and it's not without its catchier moments like Silent Violence, fun groove to that one, but it's still pretty low even when considering what better death metal was also coming out in 1995. Like, check out my tier list of death metal albums that came out that year. We're talking Morbid Angel's Domination, Suffocation's Pierced from Within, Deicide's Once Upon the Cross, and Death's Symbolic, just to name a few. Not unlistenable like some of the later albums, but I do find myself getting pretty bored with a lot of this. Tracks I do somewhat enjoy, Silent Violence, Lycanthropy, and Suffering in Ecstasy. This one is going to listenable.
It's a nightmare.
You are!
So are you!
I wish you were dead!
So do I!
Then we have Warpath in 1997. More bluesy, groove-driven death metal. I make fun of this band a lot, and I do think a lot of that is warranted, but since Chris hasn't completely blown his voice out yet, this one's also not the worst thing. Starting to E a little bit, but it's not quite the meme yet. Not bad, just bland and basic. Baby's first death metal is my thoughts whenever I'm listening to this thing. Revenge of the Zombie is kind of amusing. I was pretty shocked to discover that this is ranked number 334 in Rock Hard Magazine's book of the 500 greatest rock and metal albums of all time, so I guess some people like it.
You serious?
But yeah, for me, this is going to meh. Then we have Maximum Violence in 1999. Album 3 from Chris Barnes and Company. I remember seeing this album art a lot as a kid, just getting into death metal. Definitely sounding a bit heavier in keeping with the title. Chris in particular seems like he's really going for the throat with these belted, syncopated screams on the opening track, and closer hacked to pieces, making for standout performances. But unfortunately, that intensity doesn't carry all the way through. Likewise, really solid, menacing atmosphere with some of these riffs, courtesy of newcomer Steve Swanson, making things more interesting than just pure groove, but then cornier tracks like the Kiss War Machine cover bring it back down for me. This one's also going to listenable.
Adequate. For who?
But speaking of covers, we should make a detour here into Graveyard Classics, the first of which came out in 2000.
Stop it.
I generally avoid including cover albums because I don't consider them to be true LPs, but this is just such a legendary one for all the wrong reasons. Also, funnily enough, Smoke on the Water is probably the first song I ever heard from this band, and even back then I remember laughing my ass off. So many classic songs here being just absolutely butchered, no pun intended, not in a good way. Yeah, just consider all of these at the very bottom.
Look how they massacred my boy.
But back to the full LPs, we have True Carnage in 2001.
So it begins.
And just a few seconds into Impulse to Disembowel, we have the true birth of the E. I can't for the life of me understand people who can listen to those vocals and not only not laugh, but straight up think that this is peak death metal. But like seriously, that's not a straw man. These people are in my comments. They are real somehow. The Day the Dead Walked is also especially hilarious, and the Ice-T feature on One Bullet Left is just beyond terrible.
You motherfucking critic ass bitch motherfucker, catch you coming out your motherfucking house.
Oh, brother, this guy stinks!
At least it's kind of funny, but you know, this one is going to E. Y'all, we have plenty more albums to go, but if you're enjoying the video so far, be sure to hit the like button, or if you're super butthurt already, hit the dislike button. I don't give a shit. Also, comment your own rankings below. This is just my opinion after all, and yours is just as valid. So tell me where you agree, where you disagree. Try to be respectful, or if you're going to be an asshole, you know, it's all engagement to me. But next up, we have Bringer of Blood in 2003.
How embarrassing.
An album cover I closely associate with this band and fitting to how they sound. Sick in the Head is like a child thinking they're clever, replacing the lyrics to their high school spirit chant. America the Brutal, another especially bad performance, but on the flip side, Murdered in the Basement is also kind of amusing. Not good, and yet somehow it made Billboard Heatseekers number 22 for 2 weeks. So again, the fans are out there, I guess.
How?
This one is also going to E. But then we have 13 in 2005. Not a bad start to this one with Decomposition of the Human Race. Solid groove and Chris's vocals work fairly well. Rest in Pieces is also pretty fun, and the title track goes pretty hard. Pretty good hook too to Shadow of the Reaper. I'd say this one's acceptable. It's one of the few I can mostly enjoy all the way through, so I'm putting this one at fun tier.
I'm as surprised as you.
Then we got Commandment in 2007. Picking up on a similar note, but not having as much fun with these songs in particular. It's not painful, just really generic and forgettable. The D-beat parts are head bob worthy, but it's almost like a cheat code to me. Like anytime a band plays D-beat, I'm pretty much going to enjoy that song. Bled to Death has some annoying vocals. You could do worse, but you could also do a hell of a lot better, so this one's going to meh. Then we got Death Rituals in 2008. Opening on a surprisingly atmospheric note with Death by Machete, another decent enough vocal performance too, but sadly things get gurgly right after that with one of his poorer performances on Involuntary Movement of Dead Flesh. Likewise, even some E on None Will Escape. Seed of Filth is incredibly dull save for the solo, and the Motley Crue cover Bastard just sounds like absolute shit. I'll give Into the Crematorium some credit for that opening bass solo, but it really doesn't connect to the rest of the song. Extra points off too for being 49 minutes of this crap. I was really glad when this one was over. Not one of their worst, but still not good. It's going to meh. Then we got Undead in 2012. Barnes called this a rebirth of the band in the lead up to the release, and I can hear some renewed energy here, but it's unfortunately still not really translating into like truly great songs. But there are some more decent ones here though. Molested Dead goes pretty hard, Near Death Experience and Delayed Combustion Device are chuggers, and Vampire Apocalypse has some fun harmonics. More E on The Scar, but as far as things go, this one's also kind of fun. It's going to fun tier.
I like it!
Then we got Unborn in 2013. Legit banging my head a little bit to Zombie, Blood Curse, and Decapitate and Incision are actually quite good too, with some surprisingly dynamic guitar work. Frankly, the riffs here in general may be some of the band's best, thanks in large part to Ola England of The Haunted taking lead and guest appearances from Ben Savage of Whitechapel. Chris is still Chris, but surround him with talent and some of their most full-sounding production as well, and this one shines up like a new penny. Also really dig the infectious grooves of Alive to Kill You, Inferno, and Psychosis. Killer Closer to In the Curse of Ancients, maybe their best album in my opinion, and it's surprisingly good, so that's where it's going.
Inconceivable.
Then we got Crypt of the Devil in 2015. The jams continue with opener Gruesome, this time thanks to Brandon Ellis of the Black Dahlia Murder on axe duty. He brings their most shredding solos yet, and the bass tone here is pretty wicked too. Love the pace changes on Break the Cross in Half, another super heavy one in Lost Remains, great atmospheric leads on Compulsion to Brutalize, and another great closer in Eternal in Darkness. Not every song is on the same level, but still one of their better outings. Again, you put the talent in there, you bring it together, they work as a machine, and things come out pretty good. So this is another one that's going to surprisingly good. But then we got Torment in 2017.
Not again!
Unfortunately, most of that growth is going back out the window on this one. There are still some moments like the impressive bass noodling on Exploratory Homicide, and Marco of Vital Remains and The Faceless also gives a strong performance on the kit, but for the most part we're taking several steps back here in songwriting, and Chris sounds pretty awful again. His vocals are particularly blown out on The Separation of Flesh from Bone, Skeleton, and Bloody Underwear. Lovely. Mostly a chore to get through, and of course it would be another relatively longer one at 47 minutes. I I don't know why does it have to be some of the worst ones that end up dragging on? But yeah, this one is going to E. Then we got Nightmares of the Decomposed in 2020.
Pick up the pieces of my destruction. Zodiac.
It's bad enough that any professional signed band could even write a song as bad as Zodiac, but then to choose it as the lead single.
Are you stupid or something?
This may be the most abysmal thing the band has ever put out, and that's a tall order. Like, another former Cannibal Corpse member joining on this one too, and Jack Owen, and he does fine enough alongside Ray Sui, but the stark production just does not do them any favors either. It has a few decent moments, like the bass on Blood of the Zombie, or the era-appropriate psychedelic solo on Zodiac, but as a whole, I find this thing to just be very embarrassing. Almost every second seems designed to be a joke. It's the lol cow of the metal community, if you ask me. I've called this one of the worst albums I've ever heard, and I stand by that to this day. There are like very few contenders to that crown that can even come close to this, so you know this one too. E. Which brings us to Killing for Revenge in 2024. Now after that, I was surprised to at least be able to slightly enjoy lead single No Nothing Ingrate. Like, it's still nothing amazing, it's very average, but the riffs are fun and Chris doesn't sound terrible. Unfortunately, things already start to go off the rails just a track later with Accomplice to Evil Deeds with vocals that sound like an absolute chaotic mess. Of the tracks that are still enjoyable, I'd name Ascension, Fit for Carnage has some thrashy energy, and there's a pretty decent If Paint by Numbers run from Judgment Day to Mash Casualty Murderside that genuinely got me bobbing my head to the riffs. Honestly though, I legit started getting a headache listening to this. Like, you know that stuffy-headed cold medicine watching daytime game shows homesick from school feeling? That's the vibe of this album. When the Moon Goes Down in Blood starts off okay, but by the final third, Chris's incessant grunting gets pretty unbearable. Hostility Against Mankind and Neanderthal further reinforce how slowing things down is the worst possible choice for this band, as it only further emphasizes the awful vocals. And then of course we couldn't get by without another terrible cover, this time in the form of Nazareth's Hair of the Dog, which I love that song, and they once again just totally ruined it. All said and done, I don't think that this is their worst album, and I don't think it's quite as bad as the last one, but goddamn is it not good either. It's also a shame to see such nice artwork from longtime Cannibal Corpse collaborator Vincent Locke wasted on such mediocre music, so this one is going to meh. And I swear that I did not plan out the final shape of this ranking, but it certainly feels appropriate, if you know what I mean. Y'all check out this playlist for more death metal rankings, including the likes of Cannibal Corpse, Dying Fetus, Suffocation, many more, or this video for your own specific recommendations straight to you from YouTube. But that'll do it for now. Flight of Icarus signing off. I will see you in the trenches.